Guten Morgen, bonjour, goedemorgen, good morning. Warm welcome to the pre-event Meuse Cross-Border Waters Rendez-vous in good English. It's so great that all of you have found the possibility to join us on this pre-event and to participate. And a special warm welcome to our ambassadors. One of those ambassadors is Mr. Patrick van der Broek. He is standing next to me. Patrick, welcome. Patrick, you are the chairman of the Regional Water Authority in Limburg.
Yes, absolutely.
And we agreed that you would talk German as a good Dutchman, eh?
Ja, es ist eine ganz andere Ordnung. Heidi Jekel wird als Deutsche Englisch sprechen und ich werde als Niederländer Deutsch sprechen. So wird es eine richtige internationale Konferenz.
Ja. Okay, so we also have Heidi Jekel this morning with us, one of our ambassadors. And Heidi will join us in the forum discussion. Good morning, Heidi. Good to see you here online. Fantastic. I will introduce you later when we have the forum discussion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the serious floodings in the Meuse region has seriously impacted villages in Germany, Belgium, and even the Netherlands, Patrick. It has surprised us this summer, and so as a consequence, we all found it would be good to start with a short movie illustrating this serious event, this catastrophe that has occurred last summer. And you will see the comments of Patrick, and you will see also the comments of Diana Beuting.
We staan hier op een hele bijzondere plek, bij de Roer. Een bijzondere plek, want ik heb hier van de zomer een filmpje gemaakt. En dat filmpje heb ik gemaakt voor mijn Duitse collega van Wasserverband Eifel-Ruhr. Want toen we de crisis hadden hier in Limburg, ontstond het beeld in de media in Duitsland dat omdat we hier de sluisdeuren verderop in Roermond dichtgemaakt hadden, dat in Wassenberg de boel onder water zou lopen. En dit is dus echt wel zo'n punt van goed afstemmen met elkaar.
Voor de toekomst nog iets te winnen.
Ja, weet je, dat je dat nou met zo'n filmpje doet, dat is natuurlijk hartstikke leuk en zo. Maar wat je gewoon zag, wij hebben goede contacten met de Duitsers. Wij meten zelf, zij meten zelf. Maar er kwam zo ontzettend veel water dat onze debietmeters het gewoon niet meer aankonden. Dus daar moet nog wel wat mee gebeuren, dat is één. En twee, die Maas die steeg, die Roer die steeg en Roermond heet niet voor niks Roermond. Het water komt daar bij elkaar, dus het is knetterspannend geweest. Dus we moeten ook grensoverschrijdend kijken of je niet ook met verruiming van die Roer aan de slag kunt om het water ook gematigder deze kant op te laten komen. Dus zowel op communicatiegebied kunnen dingen beter doen, maar ook op vakaanhoudelijk gebied zorgen dat die Roer ook weer meer ruimte krijgt. Zowel hier in Nederland als in Duitsland.
En we kunnen misschien ook nog iets doen in verwachtingenmanagement richting iedereen die hier woont.
Ja, nou ja, goed, dat zeer zeker. Hè? Want je zag ook van de mensen hier aan Hatenboer die zeiden, ja, dan moeten wij hier onder water komen te staan voor die dikkoppen in Roermond, hè? Zoals het dan in de volksmond wordt gezegd. Dus communicatie is ook daar een ontzettend belangrijk item. Want ik kan het niet vaak genoeg zeggen, de Maas die stroomt in Maastricht binnen, die gaat in Rotterdam, gaat die de zee in. En wat we hier in Limburg doen, dat heeft zijn voordelen in 's-Hertogenbosch, heeft zelfs zijn voordelen in Rotterdam. Dus ook daar die solidariteit en die integraliteit is knetterbelangrijk. Dat is verwachtingenmanagement naar andere delen van het land. Het is vaak ook gewoon verwachtingenmanagement ter plekke naar de mensen zelf.
Over de last few years, Rijkswaterstaat, as well as other water-related organizations, has witnessed a wide variety of changing conditions as well as challenges in connection with the Dutch part of the river Meuse and the wider international Meuse basin. These challenges and conditions are mainly due to the increasing pressure on our networks, caused by the increased user demand, and at the same time the changing climate conditions that influence the future of the Meuse basin. Clear examples being the summer droughts of the last few years and of course the tragic flood that occurred last summer. As differing organizations within the Meuse basin, we all have our own distinct set of responsibilities, tasks and viewpoints. We do, however, face quite similar challenges within our areas of expertise. With these challenges, we face a large amount of interdependency and interactions both on a regional but also on an international level. I believe that the past events have created a form of momentum and realizations regarding shared risks and also opportunities to act together internationally. I hope that today we are present at this pre-event because we all understand the interdependency and the need for interaction within the Meuse basin, and that we have a common desire to learn from each other and to share experiences. I hope we all will see some familiar and perhaps some new faces in the upcoming events. I, as well as my colleagues from Rijkswaterstaat, are looking forward to meeting you here today, as well as during the coming live events. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much for this impressive movie, Patrick.
Yeah.
And yes, welcome to every one of you that has just joined us. We're more than 60 participants now joining us online, which is great. And just a few household issues. Your microphones are all muted, so you don't need to pay attention to that. But for questions, please use the chat. We may have time to go into it. I have an iPad here where it comes in, or we will respond to you later and in the process up to the live event. Today we will have first a forum discussion, a panel discussion. We will have a working session where you can interact with each other on specific themes. And democratically, we have assigned you to one of the groups. Sorry for that. And of course, we will draw some conclusions. And there is an informal networking event of half an hour after at 12:30. So, Patrick, so good you have found the time.
Of course.
To join us.
Natuurlijk.
And yes, you have to stick to German now, eh?
Yeah.
It's always an issue in the Meuse. What language shall we speak?
Yeah.
We saw some fragments of the floods in the film, and one of those places was Valkenburg.
Yeah.
And you were closely involved in the Valkenburg situation.
Ja, sicher. Eigentlich haben wir 3 Wasserkrisen ganz zusammen bekommen. Zuerst mal unheimlich viel Regen in das Gebiet selbst und danach, Regen ist natürlich auch in Deutschland und in Belgien gefallen. Das kam via das regionale System wie die Göl, de Ruhr, das kam auch nochmal dabei und danach noch das Hauptwassersystem, der Maas. Und das fasste sich alles zusammen im Süden von der Provinz Limburg. Und was ich davon absolut gelernt habe, ist, dass es ist nicht mehr die Frage, ob man Wasserüberlast hat. Es ist eine Frage geworden, die Wasserüberlast von Hochwassersicherheit. In Deutschland sind 183 Leute dabei gestorben. Bei uns in der Provinz hat es nur ganz knapp geschält, ob da waren auch tödliche Fälle zu betreuern. Also das ist, was ich gelernt habe. Und das andere, was ich gelernt habe, das ist, wir müssen viel mehr grenzüberschreitend zusammenarbeiten, weil das Klima macht keinen Unterschied zwischen in die Grenzen von Belgien und die Niederlande oder von Deutschland oder die Niederlande.
And what subjects in this international cooperation should have priority for you?
Ja, zuerst und das Allerwichtigste, das ist die Information miteinander zu teilen und auch jetzt auch von der räumlichen Planung aus zusammenzuarbeiten, weil die Maßnahmen, die im Ausland genommen werden, das hat wieder seinen Vorteil für die Maßnahmen in den Niederlanden, so wie ich auch erklärt habe, dass die Maßnahmen im Süden von der Provinz seine Effekte haben in Rotterdam. Also wir müssen viel mehr voneinander lernen und auch die Kommunikation miteinander in so einer Krise intensivieren.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I notice it cost me trouble to not respond then in German. So, but speaking of German, Heide, please join us. Yeah. Heide, you are head of the division on cooperation in international river basins. What a fantastic job related to the themes. So, you are the perfect person to ask the next question, which is, do we need a complete different approach now for the stream valleys after the disasters you above all have been living in Germany? Or should we accept the changes and say, okay, this is life, and simply adapt to it? In other words, should we just let it happen, or do we start on a different level working? What's your vision on that?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to this event. I think it is not about a completely different approach. And in Germany, it was not stream valleys, but the valleys of tributaries to the Rhine, especially. So I think the geology in these valleys, which are very narrow and which had to cope with incredible amounts of water, that is something which we also have to tackle. And it's not about the Rhine as a big stream. I think we have to think about improving warning procedures so that people get more aware of this issue and of what they should do in the concrete situation. And now there is a lot of discussion in the two federal German states which had been mostly affected. So I'm from the federal level. I'm not responsible for practical measures. These are the Länder, the North Rhine-Westphalia and Rhineland-Palatinate. And now the rebuilding, reconstruction discussions have started or are ongoing. Yes. And that shows that I think rebuilding houses at the same places where they were flooded away by these huge masses of water. These are things which we have to discuss in the future. So do not rebuild or recreate new damage potential where you have seen that the next flood might come. And at PR, this was not the first flood catastrophe, but the people have just forgot what happened in the past, and that is something which we also have to tackle, and there will be another discussion on awareness in some minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And Patrick, can you give a reaction on Heide's approach? Is this realistic? Is this also the way we see it in the Netherlands? Rebuild Valkenburg on another place?
At another place, das denke ich doch nicht, aber das habe ich heute auch nicht so sagen hören, nicht gehört. Räumliche Planung ist ein unheimlich wichtiges Thema. Dies ist nicht nur eine Frage von Wasser, ist auch eine räumliche Aufgabe, die wir jetzt haben. Und das haben wir eigentlich als Gesellschaft vielleicht die vergangenen Jahrzehnte vergessen, dass alles möglich ist und dass wir überall bauen können und Industrie oder Wohnungen. Und das hat Mutter Natur uns jetzt mal wieder deutlich gesagt, so geht das nicht. Ja. Du sollst mit uns Rechnung halten. Das ist auch in räumlichen Planung. Also ich bin derselben Meinung als Heide Jägel. Absolut.
Okay.
Ja.
Okay. Great. Well, another question I have for both of you. how can we use this momentum to raise or increase the awareness of residents and also prepare them for flood risks?
Yeah.
Maybe you can elaborate on this first, Patrick.
Ja. Man würde zuerst mal denken, die Leute, die es betrifft, die haben es begriffen. Ganz viele Leute haben es begriffen, aber ich spreche auch Leute, die sagen, ach, das ist nur einmal gewesen, das wird nicht wieder vorkommen. Ich glaube das nicht. Also die Awareness sozusagen auf Hochdeutsch muss auch bei Leuten besser werden. Ja, die ist schon da, aber es kann besser. Und ich denke auch auf Landesebene, wir haben nur 200 Millionen Euro für 6 Jahre auf Landesebene geplant. Das ist absolut zu wenig. Das muss sicher 200 Millionen pro Jahr sein, dass die Nationalregierung dafür frei macht. Das ist also auch ein Issue. Und wir sollten uns zum Letzt auch realisieren, wir sprechen viel über Klimat, CO2-Reduktion, aber wenn man davon ausgeht, dass wir jetzt schon unsere Ziele realisiert haben mit CO2, dann wird es noch circa 50, 60 Jahre dauern, für das ganze Klimasystem sich da wieder auf eingestellt hat. Also wir haben da eine Aufgabe für räumliche Adaptation, Climate Adaptation, und das ist auch eine Aufgabe von morgen und aber auch schon von heute.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. Heide. Your vision on this question.
Yeah. I think awareness is really a big issue, and the analysis of what went perhaps wrong in the federal states during the warning procedures is ongoing. And it is clear that the warnings had been perhaps too technical and the people could not understand what they should do at the right moment. But sometimes, often they understood that water is coming, but they didn't take it for serious and they just didn't believe it. So there had been questions from mayors to the flood forecast centers if they really believe what they are talking about. And so people were just not prepared that something like this could happen. And they didn't know what to do. So I think the question how to warn people in the right way that they save their life and not try to save their belongings is something really important. So who should warn when and about what? Yeah. And we talk about new tools like self-broadcasting and more warning sirens. And as I already told Patrick in a pre-talk to this event, that people reacted on simple things like, for example, ringing the death bell of a church, and then they understood that something goes wrong. So I think this is something which we really have to improve. And we saw it from the River Elbe in Germany, where we had 2 big floods in a day. During the second flood, people understood that they have to completely change their approach and not rebuild their houses again or to settle away. And this is something which people are now discussing in Germany, in the 2 federal states, especially at the tributary.
Yes. So I hear you saying that a very practical warning systems so that people can live better and are much more conscious about the situation they are in is one of your key measures you're taking right now. Right. Well, let's make the bridge to the long-term cooperation. The effects of extreme drought and extreme precipitations, they do not respect the national borders. And the scale of the problem of climate change is cross-border. And what would, and that's the last question I have to both of you, what would you consider a brilliant step in tackling the issues we just discussed together across borders? So first, Patrick, what would be your brilliant step?
Es ist vielleicht eine Plattitüde, aber auf einer ganz anderen Ebene, die das Problem anfassen. Und wenn ich das mal beziehe auf meine eigene Organisation, wir waren bis Jahrzehnte waren wir da mit dabei, um die Flüsse, um die zu optimalisieren. Und wir müssen auf einer ganz anderen Ebene, auf ein regionales System, auf ein grenzüberschreitendes System denken. Da müssen wir die Sachen anfassen. Und das haben wir bisher absolut zu wenig gemacht.
Okay.
Ja.
Thank you very much. Heide, what would be your key step?
I think first we should use the existing bodies which we have to cooperate across borders. So our international river basin commissions for the Rhine and the Meuse, but also our bilateral German-Dutch commission with regard to the water bodies at the frontier. I think we have good platforms to start discussions. And I think that spatial planning is really an issue, and we have just published in Germany a federal spatial flood plan, if I can say so, which was coordinated with our federal states, which is rather abstract, but at least that is a first step. And perhaps we can do something like that or think about that also cross-border. And we have, of course, climate adaptation plans on the federal level and on the regional level, and that should be more discussed with our neighbors. And I think the first steps are done also already, for example, in the International Rhine Commission.
Okay, great. So use the existing cooperation bodies and start discussing themes like spatial planning, climate adaptation, etc. Well, thank you very much, both of you. I've got a cue that we still have time for some questions.
Yeah.
I see we are still have. Are there questions coming in? I also look at the organization. Any questions coming in from our dear participants?
Ja, vielleicht, dass ich mittlerweile noch, ich finde es wirklich großartig, dass jetzt so viele Leute zusammen sind.
Ja.
Und ich gucke mal auch so mal die Kamera in. Ich wünsche euch sehr viel Inspiration voneinander. Dies ist das Moment. Wir müssen dieses Momentum angreifen, um viel mehr miteinander zu arbeiten. Knowledge to exchange. Und es ist eine schreckliche, der Anlass ist schrecklich, aber wir haben jetzt die Möglichkeit, um das, was schrecklich ist, besser zu machen. Um es dann mal auf richtig Deutsch zu sagen, wenn wir das zusammenfassen, dann können wir sagen, wir schaffen das. Das hat die Altpräsidentin das auch schon mal in Deutschland gesagt. Wir schaffen das. Ja.
Okay, so this is really a call of Patrick to enhance our international cooperation, and I think today can be a very good moment at this online pre-event to start it. And in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, you all will be participating in those groups where we actually can discuss this question, what can we better do together? But Heide, you oversee so much from your position in the national governments, and we all know that it's complicated with all those governmental layers. You have the Kreise, you have the Bezirksregierung, you have the Länder, and in the Netherlands, we sometimes look at you at what level can we best make our cooperations and strengthen our relationship. And can you give us some advice on that?
Yes, a federal state like Germany looks a bit complicated from the outside, but in principle it's not. I think the operation these are with the 16 German Länder, or the 2 or 3 now the Netherlands have frontiers with.
Heide.
So they are regional cooperation, from my view, is the main issue, and the Netherlands should first talk with the governments of the Länder or the regional entities. So I'm coordinating more on a general level, and of course if it is about issues which are relevant for the federal state, then of course we can talk also with our federal government in Berlin. But I think the federal states and the borders of Netherlands, they are not the right level to approach.
Yeah. I have to I have to tell your voice didn't reach me quite good. There was some echo in the sound, but I understood that you mainly said to us that the national government is overseeing all issues.
Ja.
Can you add to it a little bit what you understood from Heide's point, Patrick?
Ja, ich denke, dass es insbesondere die Landesregierung ist, die da zuerst mal zuständig für ist. Und dann sind natürlich auch noch die Wasserbehörde und auch die Kreise. Aber gerade, ich denke, dass für uns von niederländischen Perspektive aus die Landesregierung die wichtigste der wichtigste Partner ist, um miteinander zu überlegen. Und dann ist es auch Nationalebene bei uns, also unser Minister und der Ministerpräsident oder der Minister von Nordrhein-Westfalen. Da kann die Zusammenarbeit auch viel besser organisiert werden und dann wird das auch seine Auswirkungen haben in der Niederlande auf niedriger Ebene, sowie Provinz- und Wasserverbände und das wird in Deutschland auch so sein.
Okay.
Ja.
Thank you very much. Sorry for you from Wallonia and Flanders and Luxembourg and France. This was a little bit elaborating the Dutch-German cooperation, and so we will have to go in more detail on the governance of many aspects. I got a note from the technical organization. I have the feeling that Teams is broke. Is it also for the participants? Heide, just Heide. Okay. We missed Heide, but you're still there, and that's good news.
I'm still there, but I switched off my camera because then the sound makes better.
Okay, Heide. Did Patrick interpret your statement right?
Yes. It's
That's
the
great.
Federal states level, North Rhine-Westphalia, Lower Saxony, which should talk directly with the Netherlands. They are the operational level, not the federal government in Berlin.
Yes.
We can be approached if it is more an overall general issue on flood protection or something like that. But the federal states are the right addresses.
Okay. Thank you very much, Heide. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is just an example of the governance that we also have to address carefully and pay attention to. I want to thank Patrick van der Broek warmly for coming here all the way from southern Limburg to Den Bosch within the Netherlands. Heide, please stay with us, but thanks so much for participating in this forum discussion. And I will now make the switch to the next part of the program, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, one of my colleagues preparing, Maarten, he joined me to explain a little bit more on the live event that we will have on March 31, 2022. Maarten, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Maarten van Wel and I'm working for the program office of the Meuse region. Our office coordinates the cooperation between the regional Dutch water managing authorities in the Meuse watershed. And I myself am closely involved with Henk and some other colleagues in organizing this network pre-event today and the live networking event for next spring on the 31st of March. I will tell you a little bit more about what is the idea of this day. So the idea is that we are organizing a networking day with a full day program, approximately 9:30 in the morning, perhaps until 4 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which will revolve around the aim of strengthening the relationships. So cross-border networking, cross-border, getting to know each other better, getting to know each other again, for those of you for whom it has been quite a long time since the coronavirus, of course. So getting to know each other is the main aim of this networking event. We already found a beautiful location for it. You can see it on the slide. It is the castle of Groot Buggenum in Gratum, which is in the north of the Dutch province of Limburg, and which is a quite central location between our shared border regions in the Meuse watershed. As I said, the main goal is to strengthen the relationships and get to know each other. I think the talk we just listened to from Heide and Patrick show the importance for certain urgent matters in our shared border regions to communicate cross borders, to share knowledge, to share experiences, to learn from each other through good practices, and to even cooperate on measures that can be taken in the Meuse region. Therefore, the first base would be to know each other. We need to network, we need to know who we are dealing with on the other side of the border. You want to know who is working on that other side of the border, in the other border regions, on the same tasks and on the same challenges as you yourself and as we ourselves, to be able to share this knowledge and cooperate. We already gathered a lot of input from many of you here present today. We talked with you in video chats, and we also sent out a survey that many of you filled in. And you gave us a lot of input for the topics that you would like to discuss on this networking day. And most of these topics revolve around this theme, this general theme of climate adaptation and the issues that make climate adaptation necessary, such as the floods or the droughts of the last few years. The EU climate adaptation strategy that is coming towards us has proven to be a very important theme for the people that we asked input from. So these are all red lines that we want to discuss.
Just one question, Maarten. We already mentioned the ambassadors, and Patrick and Heide are clearly two of our ambassadors. But what's the role of an ambassador?
I think the main role of the ambassadors, and we have many more next to Heide and Patrick, but we already have many more, is to carry out the importance of this networking event and the importance of this strengthening of the relationships, to be a communication link between the Meuse border regions right now, and to be a communication link to your own border region in which the ambassadors are working right now. And
you still have some vacancies, huh?
I still have some vacancies, yes, definitely. So we have already a lot of ambassadors, administrators and officials from the Meuse region who have joined us in carrying out the importance of this networking event, but there are still some spots to give. For example, we are looking for stronger connections in Wallonia and in the whole of the Meuse region, actually.
Yeah. So here you will see the present ambassadors. Yeah, there is still some relative overrepresentation of the Netherlands. So if you are from either Germany, Flanders, and Wallonia, France, you feel like you know someone, or I could be on that list. Please contact Maarten or Nout and contact us, because this is about networking. This is about knowing each other, and the ambassadors are key to that. Thanks so much for all those ambassadors that are also present at this moment. Fantastic that you also participate in this meeting. All right, time to get to work. The next step that we will make, ladies and gentlemen, is that we will now have smaller group discussions on specific themes. In the online survey, you have highlighted issues that you found most important, and we made 5 groups going into more detail. And as I already told you, we democratically assigned you to one of those groups. It's just a short discussion to see whether we can achieve some scoping for the workshops that we will hold in the next live event in March. So you will automatically be switched to the teams, to one of the team session, and Maarten and I will also chair one, and we will back in the plenary 8 minutes before 2022. Okay, thanks, and I see you later. Welcome back to the studios. I hope you all have had an inspiring discussion. It was way too short. I can tell it from our own group about governance. We're beginning to discuss, and then you have to stop it. But this is a short pre-event. I hope you have had a taste of it. We will now briefly go through each of the groups and hear the chairs telling one or two highlights out of those discussions. Maarten, I'm glad you're still here. You were talking about flooding.
Yeah.
What is the main insight you had?
Well, the main insights that we had were on the importance of a correct information basis, which is also something addressed by Heide and by Patrick, and a need to work on this during our live networking event, for example, but also to have a good eyes on the network. For example, a safety program was mentioned where we should have good attention for what are the responsibilities for all the water authorities, which means a good eyes on what the network looks like and what each responsibilities are to know who to address in our neighboring countries in the border regions.
Great.
Those are the main.
Thank you. It's short, it's brief. And now we go to Nout. Nout, your group was talking about the weather extremes. And please join us through Teams. Yeah?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. You asked me to come to two topics, but we have more. But I will
come right to the point
make
now.
Three of it. We need some government directives to see what direction we should take, and we should take small steps. We should know this. It takes a long time. Also, space is needed for what we are going to do. So this needs spatial planning. And cross-border, we should work together on cross-border models and knowledge gathering and exchange. And those are the three main topics we addressed.
Thank you very much. Well, and here's Els Wouda, my colleague sitting in Groningen. Els, can you give a highlight about the citizens? How we can relate ourselves to the citizens? What are your main conclusions? Your sound is off still. Yeah.
I was still muted indeed. Yeah, we also had a very fruitful discussion about citizenship, and we mainly focused on how can we inform these citizens, how can we communicate with them, and that it's very valuable to share those practices international with each other. Mm-hmm. We already had the best practices, for instance, educate children also. But it's also super important to think what can you communicate, because it has such a huge impact also, for instance, on pricing of houses in the area. So yeah, the focus point was mainly on share those best practices. Also, for instance, on those quick warning signs where we talked about this during the morning. And then also to enhance the the feeling of being connected towards the rivers. Things that might work there is to let citizens also experience the river more, so that they know that they are actually living with the water and that they feel more connected with this. Yeah. That were some points of many that we discussed.
Fantastic. What can we do a lot in 20 minutes? Great. Thank you very much, Els. The last issue is about governance, and this was discussed in two groups. Jessica, my colleague Jessica, was chairing one of those groups. Jessica, please join us and tell your main the main points of your group, please.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it was in our group that we thought of brilliant steps that might be taken to improve the international cooperations for on the Meuse to cope with the floods and the droughts. First step we think is important is to really get to know each other better, to introduce the right people at the right body at the right level, so that also on an operational level people really know where to find each other and to cooperate successfully. And for this, we thought it is important to use existing platforms and to introduce new topics also in these existing platforms. Furthermore, the live networking event was considered excellent also to reinforce the cooperation. Another aspect is to make the IMC also more visible as an international transboundary platform, and to make use of available subsidies also to improve the operational cooperation.
Great. Thank you very much,
Those
Jessica.
are the main points for our group.
Yeah, you silenced someone in your room, I see. Okay, thanks so much, Jessica. Yeah, she's sitting one room beside us here in the studios. And the last group I had the privilege to chair. And I asked, it was really a good group about the more formal aspects of governance. And I asked Saskia Onink, one of the members of this group, to present a brief summary of our conclusions. And let's see whether the technique can reach Saskia. Saskia, do you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Okay. So please, yeah.
Well, our group was already discussing about the government issues before our facilitator, Henk, managed to join us. So it shows that cooperation can work even if you don't know each other and nobody is organizing the cooperation. One very important statement was made about the fact that it's very obvious for a downstream country as the Netherlands that water management needs international cooperation across the border, as a lot of the things as downstream country, we will be affected by everything happening upstream. But what's in it for the upstream partners? And then the International Meuse Commission Secretary General intervened and told us that, okay, the International Meuse Commission does exist already, but this commission can only work really on an ambitious level if all the member states delegate sufficient mandate, sufficient ambition to this commission. And then we talked about how are we going to be able to stimulate political will in the Netherlands and also in other upstream countries to really have some ambition in this cross-border cooperation, which is not always easy because national laws and national focus is always different. And one of the big stimulus that is created on a European level is, of course, the European Water Directive, but also the European subvention programs like Interreg and life subsidies. And then, well, maybe that's one of the possibilities to give some stimulus to upstream countries to really invest in some ambitious cooperation in water management across the border.
Yeah.
This is it.
Thank you very much, Saskia. Yes, and one of the inspiring ideas that I kept on my sheet of paper was also, would it be possible to give a transboundary objective and a transboundary mandate to one commission or one body working transboundary? And there was an example of Portugal and Spain where this actually already happens. So I think it's summarizing the 5 groups. I think you elaborated further on the topics already issued and put on the agenda by Patrick and Heide this morning, which is great. And I think we have gathered a lot of material to really make the event on the 31 of March fruitful, and not only good to know each other, but also to prepare next steps in the real international cooperation. So thanks so much for that. So I'm coming now to the end of the meeting. Our apologies for the delay. We had some technical issues and we lost some minutes. We will see each other again on March 31 in 137 days. So the formal part, ladies and gentlemen, is done now. Please, you are welcome for the informal after talk to talk further on our topics. And this will be, you will have a link now. Please, if you want to join us on WonderMe, which is really a nice tool. If you have never been on WonderMe, it's only for that reason good to join us. So step 1, copy the link. Step 2, close your Teams. And step 3, open WonderMe. Another instruction, don't use Safari, use Edge or Chrome. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. Let's work together and see each other in 137 days.